Finally, some sort of video again here, or rather live stream, and that is because a highly anticipated add-on for XPX just got released, and that is the Rotate Sim MD-80 for X-Plane 10. And I have to say that I'm a real huge fan of the DC-9 and MD-80 family of McDonnell Douglas and later on Boeing. Yeah, because way back then, as a child, I did my first flight to the holidays, former Yugoslavia, in a DC-9. So I always had a sweet spot for this airplane. And when the Leonardo Mad Dog SH version for FSX got released, and FS9, I first got the FS9 version back then, I was totally in love with it, and I more or less exclusively flew this bird back then. So yes, it's been a while, and I already got had the Flight 1 version, the professional version back then for FSX, but you know, to be honest, I haven't flown in high fidelity MD-80 in a while. So we'll see how I will make up. But I just want to give you some first impressions on this bird, and we are here situated at Cologne Airport, EDDK runway 32 right, and I want to do a short racetrack. I always do actually with new add-ons or new versions of add-ons I already have installed. And that is taking off from runway 32 right, following with SIT, which is then directly followed by a star, and then we'll do an ILS approach into runway 32 right again. First off, I have to say that I had to turn down one of my settings a bit to make this add-on work in my sim, because it's really, I mean, its model is just ultra fidelity, I would say. I've never seen a 3D model with such beautiful texturing in any sim before. It's really breathtakingly beautiful. And already while downloading it, I recognized the file size is just huge. The liveries alone, 5 liveries I think, were 1.2 gigabyte of compressed data, and the bird, the base pack of the bird, I think 1 gigabyte again, so 2.2 gigabyte of data had to be downloaded. And yes, so my first impressions, my real first impressions on this bird weren't too good, because I couldn't fly it at all. Here at Cologne Airport I had something around 5 to 7 frames per second, so that wasn't too nice. But I found out, with the help of some nice people at explain.org forum, that I can turn down the global texture resolution to make it work again. And yeah, guess what happened? That really helped a lot. So I just turned down the overall global texture resolution from very high to high, and I'm back with, stable 30 frames to 35 frames at dense airport sceneries like the default Frankfurter here in Cologne. And I haven't touched any of my other sliders except the world distance detail. I could crank that up from medium to high, because I just gained so much performance. That's huge. Now, while streaming, the performance isn't that good. I'm at 25, but still 23, 24 right now. But still, I'm very happy, and this thing is totally flyable with these settings. So I'm happy with it. Alright, so here's the outside. Beautiful, and it's really dirty. It looks well used, and that is what one would expect from a bird like that. I mean, the MD-80 series is quite old, and they are workhorses, or they were rather workhorses for many of those airlines using it. So a perfect, clean and fresh and new looking aircraft isn't that attractive. I think that is looking much more attractive to me. You can see all those rivets here and this detail going on in the 3D model on the texturing. That's just amazing. Okay, so without any further ado, let's jump into the cockpit and let's see how that looks. and the beauty just goes on inside the flight deck. Really amazing. You can see some reflections here on the CRTs, the primary flight display, and the ND. Yeah, and you can hide the yokes, which makes sense because if you don't hide them, they are here in the way of the ND, so I just hide them to have a better visibility. Okay, so let's see if I'm able, from the top of my head, to crank this thing up. First of all, we are... Okay, normally we wouldn't sit on the runway powering up a plane, but we don't mind that right now. Let's turn on the park brake. Let's turn on... Oh, that's the APU. Let's turn on the battery. Then let's flick the switch over. Alright, because if you see the switch in a position like that, it's actually saved and can be turned off accidentally. So that's a nice feature which have been modeled, and you see here the warning display has come to life. I just loaded the plane with a bit of fuel on the wing tanks and none of fuel in the center tank. So let's crank up the APU. And you have to turn down the APU start switch, hold it down for a bit, and as you can see, APU RPM is rising, and will take a minute or something like that for the APU to come finally alive, being able to provide power and bleed air. Very nicely modeled, the overhead panel. The gauges have some nice reflections. Everything is really crisp and sharp. And in a few seconds time, this blue light should come alive, showing us that the APU is ready to be loaded. APU power available. Here we go. Here you can see that's all the switches concerning the APU. The air is off right now, and we have to flick that switch in order to get some bleed air. Now we can already turn the bleed, or rather here the air conditioning bleed air valves on, the supply valves on. It will take another minute or so in order to the APU in order to provide some air. Right, so let's... Emergency exit lights are on, smoking signs and seatbelt signs can come on. And now we'll turn on some light, so the position light should be in the on position. And now we'll crank up the CRTs and the CDU. You can see by turning those knobs on the pilot side, the co-pilot side gets lit up as well. Okay, let's set the pressure to 3050. Manipulating knobs here in this plane can be done by left-clicking a knob and then dragging the mouse to the left and right. Okay, now let's jump to the overhead panel again, and let's flick on the IRSs by turning this knob to the nav position, or rather this one knob, because the second knob isn't modeled, so just one system is modeled here. That's one of the things that is modeled a bit on the light side, but we'll talk about that later on. So let's jump here to the CDU position init page. Let's grab the last GPS position. Okay, that went away. Those boxes. So I don't know why that happened. Let's turn it off and to nav again, and here we are. So that's the last GPS position, and it will take the IRSs to align a bit of time. the reference about this EDDK. Alright, and around today will be EDDK to EDDK. Let's put some random flight number in here, 2015. Okay, so the flight plan today will be rather easy. Will be taken off from runway 32 right. I haven't updated the nav data yet. You could do so by using the Aerosoft Airbus nav data, which is also used to update the X-Plane's default database, but I haven't touched that yet. But all the necessary data should be in there to do this little flight. And here you can see we'll take the Cologne 9 Bravo departure from runway 32 right. And no real en route waypoints. We'll just arrive into runway 32 right again, ILS approach, and we'll take the Golf 1 Charlie arrival with the Cologne transition, and that should be all the necessary all the waypoints we need in there. Now we have Cologne 2 times as the last waypoint of the SIT and as the first entry waypoint of the star, so one of these Colognes can be deleted, and the first waypoint of the star can be entered. So here we go. That's a double entry, so let's delete that X131 from there. Let's put the Rarix in there, and Rarix is doubled as well, and now we should be good to go. Ken 44 is a double entry as well, so let's delete that. Alright, here we go. And runway 32 right as the last point. So, yeah, that's something I recognized earlier today when I did the first test flight, that can't be done. So that last... Alright, okay, so here we go. Now we have a flight plan with no discontinuities in it, so that's nice. I didn't get that the first time. I just hand flew the last part because I couldn't get rid of this discontinuity earlier today, because actually it should be possible to copy the RW32 right, which stands for runway 32 right, into the scratch pad and then copy it into the boxes that stand for empty waypoint. But that didn't work. But deleting it just did the trick. So here we go. Now the init ref page. Just by left click you can enter the data manually, but if you want to have it easier, you just can left click all these boxes and the things you need will be filled in. We'll have a reserve fuel of 1 ton today, very short flight. Cost index will be, let's say, 35. Another thing that isn't working the way it should is that you can't enter cruise altitude under 10,000 feet, because if you do so, 9,000, you see invalid entry. 90 for flight level, 90 doesn't work either. So the only thing that works is if you choose to fly on a flight level which is above 10,000. So let's say we'll cruise in on flight level 110, which is okay, because you know this thing just climbs like a rocket, especially if it is lead weighted, which it is today. So we'll have no problems at all to reach flight level 110. But you know, on the other hand, the FMC should be capable of taking flight levels underneath 10,000. But well, one of those things. Transition altitude here is 7,000. So takeoff page. Outside air temperature today is 7.5. By the way, I'm using the latest version of FS Global Real Weather for as a weather engine for X-Plane. There you can see it as well. Once again, let's put in 7 degrees Celsius. Right, and by left clicking these speeds here, they are filled in automatically as well. Alright, so pre-flight status should be actually completed. Let's see if something's missing. Ah yeah, sure, I have to execute the whole thing, and then alright, What's going on here? Pre-flap complete. Alright, good. Actually, I should be able to return to the inner draft page once the route is executed, but that doesn't want to work. But I could reach that page again by clicking index and then performance. Yes. Strange. We could enter cruise wind and all that good stuff, either deviation, but we won't do that now because we just want to do a quick and dirty test. Okay. So let's return to the Lex page. It's worth mentioning though that the FMC on the Copilot side is just, you know, doubled. So it's not individually and it can't be used independently from the captain side. So that's just a copy of the captain's panel. So alright, here we have the hydraulic pumps. The aux pump should be on, which it is. So we have hydraulic pressure, so we will be able to put up or to set up here the panel, center of gravity, flap setting, and so on and so forth. We'll use a flap setting of 15 today, so that's the flap to select wheel, which some of you might know from the MD-80. So, alright, 15. So let's dial in flap 15, and we have a center of gravity of 18, and then the right amount of trim is presented here, 5.5. So just move the stabilizer trim, and this thing here, which indicates the stabilizer trim, should match the green pointer here, so you can be sure to have the right amount of trim set. Let's set up real quickly the MCP. Let's turn on the flight directors. Let's dial in the runway heading, which is 317. Once again, you just grab the knob if you see here these arrows, and then you press the left mouse button, then you drag the mouse to the left or right to manipulate the button. If you have another function like the bank angle limiter here on this knob, it's a dual concentric knob, you have different arrows like that can be seen here. Oh no, that's not right. That is to switch between heading select and heading hold. Sorry for that, but you see there is a different size of arrows showing up, and if those are grabbed and dragged, you can see I'm moving the bank angle selector, but I want this to be on the 30, which it is right now, and we'll arm the nav mode, nav track. Okay, and we'll dial in an altitude of 11,000. Alright, we'll press the button, so you see Alt Capture is armed. Okay, further on, we'll take off with flags and our assumed temperature. We'll call for a derated thrust. Right. Cool. So, let's put the ND into the correct mode, which can be done here. Let's put it into map mode, and then we'll click here on data, and then you see the route here. Oops. Let's jump range down. There you can see our takeoff. Good thing. Alright. One thing I recognize here is that the FMC didn't calculate the speeds and altitudes here for the climb. We see here the cruise flight level, but on runway 32 right we are still on cruise flight level, so I think that won't work. All the figures are in there. Okay, the FMC seems to have some problems here, and it suggests a climb speed of 291, which is way too high, because under 10,000 feet we shouldn't exceed 250 knots. So let's see what happens if we want to put that in either. So I'm not sure if there's a problem here with the short route which doesn't contain any 100 waypoints, it's just a sit and a star, or if this is a problem of the release version here. Okay, that's strange. So what happens if I arm VNav? Oh, actually nothing happens. Okay, but that could be due to the fact that the auto throttle isn't armed yet, but to be on the safe side, we'll just dial in some vertical speed manually here. Vertical speed and F track, and here you can see the flight director showing all the good stuff. Okay, so let's do the engine start. The MD-80 is a system which is called pneumatic crossfeed valves, and they have to be in certain positions in order to get the pneumatic air into the correct systems. Right now you can see the pneumatic air, or the air provided by the APU, runs into the air conditioning system. But right now what we'll do is we'll turn off the air supply, and we'll move the pneumatic crossfeed valves to the top. And then you should see pneumatic pressure in the start system. Now let's put the engine start lever to the A position. Start pump is on. Let's crank the fuel pumps. And actually we should be ready for engine start. So let's start number 2 first. Start valve open, and 2 is rising. And at 21% and 2, we'll introduce fuel. 20%. HT stabilizers, and N1 reached a stable level. So let's turn off the start valve, and let's open the start valve for number 1. And 2 is rising. %. 20%. And 1 is rising. GT is stabilizing. Okay, so let's close the start valve. Let's close the guards here. Let's turn on the generators 1 and 2. Let's turn off the generator, APU generator buses. Let's turn off the APU air. Let's turn off the APU. Let's turn on the air conditioning valves. Let's close the crossfeed valves again. And actually I didn't want to turn that knob. So now let's see, anti-skid is armed. Can turn on the logo lights. Your damper has to be on. Then the ice protection, the P2P should be turned on. Start pump can be turned off. Okay, and now the hydraulic pressure, the hydraulic system has to be set up, because now the engine pumps can be set too high. In order to lower the flaps, the aux pump can come off. Now let's set the flaps to 15. And once the flaps are retracted and the gear is up, normally in cruise flight the hydraulic engine pumps are manually switched from high to low. Okay, so you see we are on the take-off position and flaps are at 15 like we pre-selected. We can turn on the weather radar. We are on takeoff flex mode, and what we'll do now is we'll turn on auto throttle, and once we introduce some thrust, we'll hit the EPR limit button in order to get the maximum thrust we've selected here. Takeoff flex with an assumed temperature. Okay, now I actually should have done that prior to starting the engines, but now since we are on the runway, the active runway, we'll turn this switch to the position light and strobe position. Anti-collision light has to come on, and all the landing lights and nose lights have to be turned on. And that is us pretty much ready for departure. Good. Alright, so park brake off. EPR limit. Here you can see EPR limit 59 is the assumed temperature. No aural warnings, which is a good thing. So we are properly configured for takeoff. V1. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. So let's turn on the autopilot. It's really a beautiful model. Okay, and once we passed 220 on the speed, we can retract the slats as well. Okay, very nice. So let's switch to climb power. So the lateral navigation is working quite well and as expected, but still I can't see any calculated altitudes and speeds here for the vertical navigation. Now let's do one thing real quick. Let's switch to IRS Mach mode, which is level change, and let's dial in an altitude speed of 250. So the pitch will be So the pitch will be adjusted in order to keep the speed, and the thrust will be set to the calculated maximum. And now we are in climb mode, so the plane climbs with maximum thrust and the rate of climb in order to keep a speed of 250. Let's see what happens if I hit VNAV. VNAV climb is showing. But okay, the plane is gaining speed and we don't want that, so let's switch back to IS Mach mode and let's select 250. And in cruise I don't want to be any faster than 250 as well, so we'll already dial in 250 for the auto throttle. And we'll fly the cruise part of the flight with speed select. So we're capturing the altitude anytime soon. Landing lights can be turned off. We are above 10,000. Here we go, speed select and cruise. Okay, that worked out quite nicely, although the VNAV portion of the whole thing didn't work the way I wanted to. Could be my fault. It's been ages since I've flown the Leonardo Mad Dog, but I think everything should have worked the way I set up the plane, but it didn't, so that might be some constraints we are experiencing now in the release version. Beautiful day today here at Cologne. No clouds, not too warm, but not crazy cold as well. Really nice day to fly. And let's have a look at this beautiful model once more in flight. Wow. That's the beauty of X-Plane, my friends. Detail here on the nose section is really crazy. I mean, you can see all the dirt here around the rivets. And you can see these actual panels here. Nothing is, you know, too round, and it just looks like the real thing. That's really beautiful. And here, you know, the gear doors. Look at that, all that dirt. That's really beautiful. That's how these planes look in real life. See some nice wing flex as well. All the lights, you know, look beautiful. Alright, let's jump into the cockpit again. And we are about to reach Cologne in 8 nautical miles, and we'll start the descent anytime soon. And we'll descend down to 3,000 feet in order to capture the ILS. So since VNAV isn't working, we'll descend with ILS Mach again at a speed of 250, and we'll retard the throttles to idle. And that should initiate the descent, which it does. Lateral navigation works very nicely. Once more. Okay, and we can turn on the landing light once more. Look at that. Beautiful. I'm using SkyMix Pro version 3. Fortunately, not too many clouds are showing right now, so we don't see the beauty of the clouds in SkyMix Pro. But still, the heaven, the lighting, and all that good stuff looks really beautiful. Okay. Okay, actually we missed to set the altimeter to standard above 7,000, but hey ho, it's an initial impressions video, so that should be cool. So, despite the fact that the real ILS has a frequency of 109.7, the ILS frequency for 3-2 ride in XPX. Oh, it's not showing up correctly. So that's strange. Somehow that caused some problems once more. Alright, that's good, but Can 44 is doubled here. And once again, that's strange, guys. That's something that isn't working the way it should. But now we're set up, so let's see very quickly. Strange once more that I can't access the init ref page from here. Approach. Still not showing up. The correct information. Execute ILS 32 right. So just put the new entries behind the actual flight plan, once more. So that's strange. That's not the way it should work, but you know, the flight plan is correct to this point, and then yeah, whatever. That's messed up pretty badly right now. So that's definitely not working the way it should. Approach. Now it's showing up the correct figures with correction 5 knots. So 111.10 course of 317, and approach speed is 124. Okay, now I messed up badly because I was just, you know, busy with setting up the approach, so that wasn't too nice. 111.10 and 317. Actually, you know, we would have needed some speed brake, and now we're already on final. So, but that's not too bad, because I tell you what, we'll take up manually right now. So we'll switch that into not heading hold, but rather heading select. 317. Let's fly runway heading and down to 3000, and we'll switch to vertical speed, and we'll ease up the rate of descent a bit, and we'll slow down to 210, and then we'll do a left turn. So sorry about that, guys, but somehow me or the FMC, or we both just fucked up a bit. Now let's do a left turn, and let's fly back to the initial approach fix. Let's ease up the rate of descent more. Beautiful night landing here, and XPX. Even the default stuff looks pretty amazing. Yeah. And it's just ultra smooth. Very nice. So let's continue the left turn anytime soon. It's continued right now, actually. Let's press that Alt button in order to have altitude capture armed. And let's select, and we'll reduce the speed to 200 once we've leveled off. And we'll extend the slats. Look at that. Absolutely maximum smooth. Even with this crazy amount of facade going on down there at Cologne City once more, XPX is just super smooth. Beautiful. So let's deploy the first stage of flaps, and we'll try to capture this waypoint here, X131, in order to capture the ILS. Altitude hold mode, which is correct altitude, is being captured, and the plane levels up nicely at 3000. Weather conditions. Okay, wind is coming from 170 with 9 knots, so actually 32 right isn't the correct runway to land on, but you know what, I don't care about that too much right now. Centrifuge press low, that's correct, because there is actually no fuel at all in the center fuel tank. That's the radar altimeter. Quite some hills underneath here, the terrain. So that's why the radar altimeter comes alive here. And once again, some very nice detail on the wing and some very nice wing flanks. Beautiful. So anytime soon we'll start a left turn. That sun visor here can be dragged around, can be pulled up and down, so that's a nice touch as well. And it works like in the real thing. Very nice. Very nicely modeled flight deck, and also very nicely modeled cabin. But now let's jump back into the flight deck and let's commence this left turn. So it is looking good. Here is the runway. So I'm pretty much at the base leg right now. So let's slow down. Approach speed is 124. So let's slow down to 150, let's say, for the next stage of flaps. And left turn. Let's mute that horn, because we know we haven't lowered the gear yet. Let's aim to that final approach fix here, which is RARIX. Once more, and everything is looking quite nice. Okay, let's go to speed brake. Here you can see the glide slope coming in, and localizer is tracking, and localizer should be captured anytime soon. And as soon as we are on the glide slope, we'll reduce the speed to the approach speed of 120, let's say 129, because we'll do the final approach with some crazy wind from the back. Well, not exactly, no, that's not correct. Alright, so 129 should work out. Wind is coming from 170, right. Gears down. Frames went down to 25, 26. Oh, even as low as 11 right now. Don't know why this is happening. Didn't happen when I did the first little test flight. Okay, frames went up again. And we'll take manual control anytime soon. Ugh. You see a bit of swinging around the lateral axis, or rather around the vertical axis rather. I don't know where this is taking place. The frames went down again to 11. That's not nice. Let's see if that has to do with the lighting. Yeah, actually it does. As soon as all this crazy night lighting is going on, the frames drop considerably. But that could be related to the recording now, so for the sake of a smooth landing, we'll just do it by daylight. The textures are 4096 by 4096, and it has taken up a lot of VRAM. And there's a problem with my old 2 gig card, but they already announced, the guys at Rotate Sim, that they will deliver an reduced texture pack anytime soon in order to get a fluid performance for the people with the older cards, so auto throttle and autopilot off. Frames now, that's nice. Bit on the high side here. Have to reduce the thrust. Ooh. The thrust of these engines shouldn't be, you know, underestimated, especially if the plane is empty. Here you go. And manual braking. So, here we are, guys. Oops. Sorry for some faults, and yeah, you know, it's been a quick and dirty video here. Actually, I like the plane, but there are still some things, you know, I don't get. Maybe that's user fault, or maybe that's some things that have to be looked at for a future update. But overall, I have to say I like the plane. Its performance. It's flyable if you lower the texture resolution too high. It should be especially handy if you happen to be a user with a 2 GB video card, which am I. It's really nice to have an MD-80 and X-Plane 10, finally. I like the product, and there'll be some more videos in the future for sure. So thanks for watching. My name is Schmeichel74, and I hope to see you back anytime soon on my channel. Bye bye.